Well, we're about to start. We don't know what the time is.
I've done it wrong. Sorry, the clock. It's just gone 11.
It's just got
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bella Cranmore, and I am a member of this church and congregation. I'd like to welcome you to our service today, whether you are a regular attender or this is your first time. Whether you are online or in person, you are very welcome. Today, I am leading a community service, which I hope will feel spacious and offer a time to pause and to reflect. Pausing and reflecting feels especially important today, as we acknowledge the transition and threshold that we are on as a community. As of tomorrow, Jennifer Sanders will be stepping into the role of leading our church through the next phase of our journey together as a community, marking the end of a 2-year period where the church has been without a lay leader. Jennifer's first service will be on Easter Sunday. As we stand on this threshold, I invite us as a community to reflect on our journey, individually and collectively, and to hold in gratitude all that we hold in value. In the last few years, we have experienced a lot of change, planned and unplanned, with our previous lay leader, Jeff Jones, leaving, and also the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And yet, here we are as a community, despite the challenges. It is important to also name that this service was originally going to be led by Eleanor Chiari, regular contributor to Unitarian gatherings, deep thinker, and regular service leader at this church. Unfortunately, Eleanor had to pull out earlier this month but generously shared with us the outline of a Unitarian workshop exploring the practice of gratitude. And so it is with gratitude that we have decided to explore this theme and also weave in some of her words and ideas while also adding our own. In this way, she is still very much present with us today. And it is with her words that I begin our time together with the lighting of the chalice. Let us begin by lighting this chalice as an act of thanksgiving. Let us give thanks for this chapel and the congregational community and for this time. Let us also take a moment to thank our bodies, whether they are rested or tired, aching or uncertain. They are our only instruments, our portals to experience. Let us give thanks to our ears or to hearing aids, and for our commitment to listening to each other. Thanks for our eyes, for reaching out to each other with attention and compassion. Let us give thanks for our coming together in honesty and community, for our willingness to open our hearts so that true joy can be with us and ripple down, if only for a few shared moments. I'd also like to thank Susie Courtauld for her help in putting together this service, which is an opportunity to focus on our Unitarian journey and also feelings of gratefulness. We will be hearing from members of the community. We will also engage in a simple meditation and ritual exploring the spirit of thanksgiving, with the intention that we may open to an experience of welcome and gratitude today. And so it is in this spirit that I invite us to sing our first hymn, 172 from the Green Book, All Are Welcome Here. In his book called Consolations, the solace, nourishment, and underlying meaning of everyday words, poet David Whyte writes about gratitude. Gratitude is not a passive response to something we've been given. Gratitude arises from paying attention, from being awake, in the presence of everything that lives within and without us. Gratitude is not necessarily something that is shown after the event. It is the deep, a priori state of attention that shows we understand and are equal to the gifted nature of life. Gratitude is the understanding that many millions of things come together and live together and mesh together and breathe together in order for us to take even one more breath of air, that the underlying gift of life and incarnation as a living, participating human being is a privilege, that we are miraculously part of something rather than nothing. Even if that something is temporarily pain or despair, we inhabit a living world with real faces, laughter, the colour blue, the green of the fields, the freshness of a cold wind, or the tawny hue of a winter landscape. He goes on to write, thankfulness finds its full measure in generosity of presence, both through participation and witness. Thanksgiving happens when our sense of presence meets all other presences. Being unappreciative might mean we are simply not paying attention. There are several books that have recently been published and are capturing public attention around the themes of awe, wonder, and enchantment. And perhaps this is no surprise when, as a species, we try to make sense of the impact of accelerating artificial intelligence and the likes of the chatbot ChatGPT. While AI excels at speed, efficiency, accuracy, objectivity, multitasking, and memory, even by its own admission, ChatGPT cannot feel or experience gratitude or any other feelings. In our favour, as human beings, we have consciousness, emotional intelligence, creativity, intuition, an ability to experience feelings, a physical body through which we can experience the world, an ability to learn through direct experience. When I think about what I am grateful for and what keeps me coming back to this church, it is perhaps that which makes us human, that is now more important than ever. I, for one, am grateful for the ability to physically come together and to share our human-to-human experience, to form and experience meaningful relationships and connections with one another, and in turn to be aware, present, and grateful. And I now invite Brian to come and share.
Good folks. I'm sure I'm not alone here when I say that I've consciously tried to cultivate a sense of gratitude in my daily life, but my efforts aren't always successful. For a while I followed that frequently recommended tip to write down 3 things that you feel grateful for at the end of each day, until I neglected to do so one night, maybe because it'd been one of those days that I was feeling a bit sorry for myself, and then completely fell out of the habit. A little more successful has been a commitment to include gratitude in my spiritual practice. So every morning at the end of my time of centering prayer, I recite Ralph Waldo Emerson's words: "For each new morning with its light, for rest and shelter of the night, for health and food, for love and friends, for everything thy goodness sends. Thank you." I follow this with the Serenity Prayer and conclude with words from the beloved Irish poet and philosopher John O'Donoghue. "May I live this day compassionate of heart, gentle in word, gracious in awareness, courageous in thought, generous in love." But as I open my eyes and get ready to face another day, the words that I often find myself pondering over are gracious in awareness, feeling that it's something I want to be, but how? And in the context of today's service, I'm curious about how close gracious in awareness is to gratitude. Essentially, I think O'Donoghue is inviting us to have an open and attentive approach to life without judging or clinging on to things too tightly. And this graciousness does have a connection to gratitude, both in an etymological and spiritual sense. The words grace and gratitude both come from the Latin word gratia, which means kindness or favour. So being gracious is all about being kind and showing favour to others. And it follows that when we're gracious in our awareness of the world around us, we're more likely to appreciate and be grateful for its beauty and wonder. We start to recognise the blessings and opportunities that come our way. We embrace them and we're thankful for them. It's like when you're out for a walk on West Hill in Hastings on a sunny winter's day, taking in the gorgeous, expansive view of the sea and the ancient Sussex rooftops. Or you're right behind the goal in the North Stand and see Carrie Matoma score sublime, and that's not a word I use lightly, a winner for the Albion against Liverpool in the dying seconds of an FA Cup match. Or you're enjoying a nice meal out, lively conversation and a cheeky glass of Sauvignon Blanc with your brother who's over from Ireland, as I was the other night. When you're gracious in your awareness, you appreciate these moments and you savour them, not least when you realise you may have lately been slipping into self-pity or despair. So I'd like to give the last word to American poet and writer Aberjani. "Grace is the invisible hand that reaches into your darkness and pulls you back into the light."
And we'll now sing our second hymn, 176 from the Green Book, "Come Together in Love." I now invite Tricia and then Matthew to share.
Well, I'm very grateful for my very loud shoes. I thought they went perfectly to welcome the spring. Anyway, I think I'm really grateful for the understanding of coming into the presence of gratitude. It has helped me with my mental health, to be grateful for things that I didn't really appreciate. I learned about gratitude coming to this church, and I didn't really know gratitude was a thing that we should employ, could employ. And I think feelings of gratitude really do benefit your mental state. So, I've passed this on to my children and to friends and things, and they're like, oh, that seems a bit superficial, but it isn't a superficial thing. If you, I suppose one day I was practicing gratitude, and I think I might have shared this with you before, but I was practicing gratitude and I suddenly looked down at the cutlery in my hand that I was putting into the cutlery drawer, and I thought, oh, I'm really grateful for this cutlery. And I think that's when my family sort of think, she's taking it a bit too far. But the thing about mental health is you can get into a bad place and not acknowledge what you have. And I don't mean just that you've got a comfortable house or a comfortable place to live, or you've got a nice bed to sleep in, but you also are alive in this on this amazing planet. And I feel grateful for the opportunity to be alive, because it's an accident that I am alive, but I think it is. But also, one of the best things about gratitude is it's free. You don't have to pay somebody to give you gratitude. You get it, you just have gratitude. You just look around, see where you are, what you've got, who your friends are, you gorgeous people, and this wonderful church. I'm very grateful to the Unitarians. Thank you.
Morning. The newspaper I read yesterday had an interesting article about how important practicing gratitude can be for us. It included one idea of doing this at 3 levels that I thought was relevant for today's theme. Firstly, the article highlighted the value of recognizing and ideally writing down what you have valued in the past. This has already been mentioned, I think. On many occasions in this church, for me, music, poems, readings that I might never have come across otherwise have moved me and profoundly or subtly revealed things to me. Friendships here helped get me through lockdown and remain very important to me as well. And sometimes there have been bourbons amongst the biscuits. These are the things to be grateful for. Services, some of them definitely led by people in this room over the years, have given voice to feelings of loss and grief, or joy and celebration, sometimes revealing feelings within myself that I've only been half aware of. Secondly, the article talked about the power of now, the importance of being present in and valuing the moment, this moment. And especially in this wonderful building, I often feel grateful for the many familiar faces that I see on Sundays and see again today. For this shared space and shared contemplation of life way beyond the busyness of the streets of Brighton, just meters away. For the silence we can also share together. Finally, looking forward to things, no matter how small, putting dates in your diary if you want, being grateful for what's coming up. And certainly for me, I I look forward to hearing new voices and sharing new experiences when I step inside these doors on the Sundays ahead. Maybe a poem that can trump at the River Clary. Maybe music that can eclipse the lost words blessing. Services that will surprise me in ways I can't imagine. So a useful reminder, perhaps, of practicing gratitude, past, present, and future, as part of our shared Unitarian journey.
Thank you both. We will now sing our third hymn, 174 from the Green Book, A Church is a Living Fellowship. I'd now like to invite Steve and then Susie to share.
Hello. Hi. I've got a feeling I might have got the brief slightly wrong. I thought I was told asked to invited to share on my Unitarian journey and gratitude. So I haven't written anything down, obviously. And so in my head, I've been telling my story, my history, and it's kind of thinking, oh God, how am I going to contain it in a short period of time? And then I'll say a few words about gratitude at the end. Okay. A part of me feels I do need to tell my story. Because I also, there's a part of me standing here feeling slightly like an imposter. Because, you know, for many of you, you know that usually when I turn up here more often than not, I come here to lead worship. And I feel kind of slightly separate from the sense of community that I encounter when I come here. I'm very clear, I'm very aware of the community that has formed itself over the last 2 years. I'm very aware of that when I come here. And I feel slightly, although I'm known and I know, and I always feel slightly kind of on the outside, and like I've been missing out on things that have been happening on Sundays when I haven't been here, and news and conversations and things. In the context of my life, you could look at my life story and think, what on earth is he doing going to church? Because church was not something that I did as a child. I mean, I had to do it at school. We had to go to chapel every day and twice on a Sunday. But my family wasn't a church-going family. We weren't a religious household. My sister and I were sent to Sunday school. Later, my sister kind of decided she thought this was to get us out of the way for at least a couple of hours. I remember, I don't remember, but I know that I got, although I had this very strong image of my, of the church, and I were christened at the same time because she hadn't been christened as a child. I was 18 months old. Christening means nothing to me, meant nothing to me at that time. It didn't have any, and it didn't have hold any meaning for me as my life went on. Later, as an adult, I absolutely held no truck with formal religion, with any kind of faith and religion. And I went so far as to be adopting other people's anger, and I used to demonstrate against Mary Whitehouse and Cliff Richard and people like that. Those Malcolm, that moral, I know, people of a certain age, you may know what I'm talking about. And so I rejected faith and religion. I can't talk about my Unitarian journey, if you like, without, I can't separate it from my journey in God, because it was God that brought me to this church. It was God, a sense of God and knowing God in my life that brought me here. And what brought me here in the first place, I'd already developed an openness to the idea of God and religion and faith. I'd had an experience with my first therapist who exposed me to that quote from Carl Jung, which I've used quite often in services, that when Carl Jung at the end of his life was asked if he believed in God, in an interview, he said, "I don't have to believe, I know." And in hearing that, and coupled with an experience that I'd had, I was able to see that, I experience God. It is not something that I have to accept as an idea, as a set of beliefs or creeds. I can actually experience God. And that was a huge revelation for me. And it started that journey. And so I would then encounter God at certain times. My other way into God was also through 12-step programs. And for anybody who's familiar with the 12-step program, there's a second step that says, came to believe in a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And for me, that went hand in hand with my lived experience. And, excuse me. And so, that all happened in New York. I left New York, came back to England, and the first autumn I was here, there was a World Sacred Music Festival was taking place in Brighton, and I was so excited. I was so thrilled and excited at this, because I'd moved from Manhattan, I wasn't quite sure where I'd moved to in terms of kind of culturally, if you like. So I was so excited that this music festival was taking place. I booked a ticket to every concert that was on the programme, and everyone I went to, I encountered this funny little lady in a kind of pinky beige knack. You know who I'm talking about, Estelle. Not Estelle. Sorry. No. Sorry, no. Anyway, and so as part of the program, there was a festival service here on Sunday morning, and so I tipped up to it. I came to it, and Evelyn. It was Evelyn, not Estelle. Yes, exactly. And with a headscarf, anyway. And so I came on Sunday morning, and the minister at the time, we had a minister then, her name was Jane Barn, and she began the service with a Native American prayer, and she read 2 Rumi poems during the service. And I thought, I think I'm in the right place here. And so I started coming, not every week, but I started coming from time to time, because I still did other things on a Sunday morning, and then gradually I did less and less of the other things and started coming here every week. I got asked if I'd like to lead a service, and I didn't know any other way than to lead it than the one particular way I'd learned in recovery, and it was suggested that maybe it's not a good way to lead service. A couple of years later, I was invited again and I started leading services. And I said yes that time and started leading services, and then I started leading services all around the district. I was leading a service somewhere every Sunday, just about. And that went on for a few years. I then I got the opportunity to apply to train as a minister. I got turned down, and I was absolutely devastated, furious, and it took a couple of months to subside. And the anger and the despair that I felt, because I felt so clear that this is what God was calling me to do, this is what I was meant to be doing. There was a sort of a yes that came through me in response to the idea. And anyway, in time, I am blowing my own trumpet. It was revealed to me in time that they did say they thought they made a mistake, but actually they didn't make a mistake in the end. They allowed me to go and train as a spiritual director, which I did for 3 years. And that 3-year training, I believe, had far more impact on my relationship with God, on my faith, than it would have done if I'd been following the ministry training. But anyway, and so that's something I can be grateful for. Finally, I can access gratitude. It's like, because I find it hard to access gratitude a lot of the time. You know, sometimes, quite often we're told that gratitude is something that we should apply to things. And I sometimes think we're encouraged to apply gratitude at the expense of an authentic, painful feeling. Somehow we end up suppressing our pain, denying our pain in favour of gratitude. And I don't know about anybody else, but sometimes it is painful to live. And sometimes we have to allow that pain its space, its feelings. I know and I trust that this will not last forever, that it will change in time. And because some of you know that I've coming up on 2 years now since Charlie's been bedbound. So this was 6 months into a marriage. And anyway, so I am not trying to press gratitude at it. I'm just accepting that actually this is how it is. And all I can do is keep going through it, and we'll see where it goes to. But I do trust that it will go where it's meant to go. I have a gratitude. I have a gratitude for the fact that I have God in my life, that I'm aware of God in my life. And now I feel like I'm starting to ramble. So you will be very grateful. Oh, I know what the other thing was. Oh, Matthew, I hate Bourbons.
Hi. So my journey here was talking to Bella, and I couldn't really remember who brought me here, but my first service I led in 2015. And ever since then, I've been coming as a member and occasionally do services. And during the Brexit revolution, some of you may remember how traumatized I was and how that stopped me coming regularly, because I was out there trying to stop what was happening. And we used to meet outside the Unitarian Church. We'd have our stall, our Stop Brexit stall, and the People's Vote. And we had lots of photos, and the Unitarian Church was in the backdrop, and it always felt really quite lovely to be out there. And sometimes we had photos of the 2 women on the wall by Pinocchios. And every time I come to church, I just love seeing that image up there. I know it's quite controversial. I know not everyone likes that, but synchronicity, again, I'm always banging on about synchronicity, but I turned up the other day, a fortnight ago, and there was a guy talking to a group of youngsters pointing to the wall, the mural. And of course, I sort of pricked up my ears. And she was talking about this artist called Roan, who had done this mural. And he was called Tyrone Wright, I think. Yes, like a Tyrone Wright. He's an internationally renowned street artist based in Melbourne. Wow. He's best known for his haunting, stylized images of women's faces. And he spearheaded Melbourne's fledgling street art movement in the early 2000s. And his distinctive female muses have followed him around the world in various states of decay, peering out from beneath overpasses and walls from as far afield as New York to New Zealand, and a myriad of places in between, including Brighton. And he can now be found not only in the streets, but in galleries all over the world. So I'm just so grateful that every time I come down, I live at the top of Church Street with my son, and I walk down the street and I come round the corner, I might have a coffee in the little Cafe Italia with a few of you, and then I see this wonderful divine feminine image next to my beloved church. Thank you.
Thank you both. So we now come to a time of reflection. I invite you to find a comfortable position, and if you wish, to lower or close your eyes. Take a moment to notice how you are feeling and how you are sitting. Begin by taking 3 long breaths through your nose and out your mouth. And take a moment to imagine how oxygen travels from the space outside of you and is drawn into your body by your breath. Notice how when it enters your nostrils, the temperature of the air is cold, and how, as it exits your mouth, having travelled through your body, it has been warmed up. As you take the next breath, visualize the way oxygen travels into your lungs and is then pushed forth into your bloodstream to rejuvenate and oxidize your cells. Notice the movements breath creates in your body, whether it's in your nostrils, your rib cage, your shoulders, or your belly. This automatic movement that all our bodies do almost unthinkingly is our gift for today. Each breath marks and expresses a new now to be thankful for. We will not always be breathing. So let's be thankful for this being alive and together now. I now invite you to think about your own Unitarian journey. which may have started very recently or much longer ago. Think about what or who drew you here. Think about why you stayed and why you keep coming back. Think about what you are grateful for in this sacred space. And if it feels comfortable, bring the energy of this gratitude into your heart. And then allow it to expand through your body, into your arms and legs, and out into the space around you. And as you feel ready, I invite you to start to bring your presence back into the room and to slowly open your eyes. As you may have noticed, we have some tea lights at the front here next to the piano. And the invitation is for anyone who would like to come and light a candle with the intention of expressing gratitude and thanksgiving. You're welcome to name your gratitude out loud or just to light a candle in silence. We also have a basket full, or a bowl full of beautiful daffodil brooches. These have been lovingly crocheted by our member Tricia. And the invitation is after you've lit your candle to then take one with you.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you for today.
Now time for stillness and reflection. Let us pray. Divine Presence in all of life, we give thanks that we have gathered together in this sacred place. We rejoice in the giftedness of each person here, and we are grateful for who we are for each other. We celebrate the mystery we experience and address as God, the ground and sustainer of everything that exists, in whom we love and move and have our being. Spirit of life and love, light within and light without. Help us to move forward in unconditional love, to leave behind any hurt we may feel and see ourselves anew, to trust ourselves anew. Help us to cultivate a new level of understanding, forgiveness and compassion. Allow us to embrace and share our unique gifts and talents, knowledge and wisdom with the world around us. As people of faith, we seek to live in a spirit of love, a spirit of community, justice and peace. Be with us now as we allow ourselves to drop into the silence and stillness at the center of our being. In the stillness and silence of our own hearts, we read the imprint of love, a light within. May it keep hope alive. May it guide us as we seek to act wisely and well. And may it help us to be vessels of compassion for one another and for our world. Amen. So we'll now sing our final hymn, 102 in the Purple Book. I invite you to remain seated and we'll sing it through 3 times.
I now end with a final blessing. As we pause and take in this time of transition, Universal Spirit, support us all as a community and as individuals as we cross over into the threshold of new beginnings and ongoing change. Hold us in your heart that we may continue to walk alongside and with each other and be nourished by all that this community holds.
So thank you to all the contributors who put together this morning. There's so many of you, I can't name you all, but that was just so lovely, and